Hello and welcome to Talk the Block, the podcast where we talk about the hit HGTV show Rock the Block. I'm Amy, and I'm here with the man who will always be my count, Stephen.
Oh boy. Count Dracula, welcome to the show. I'm glad you are here.
Oh, well, okay. I was thinking more about like the Count from Sesame Street.
The Count of Monte Cristo, the Count behind the mask.
Anyway.
Count Chocula. Lots of good counts out there.
Okay. All right. Well,
Why don't we continue with the show?
Well, one thing that you can count on is that we are going to give you a great recap of this week's episode of Rock the Block.
Yeah.
And before we get started, let me just give you our disclaimer. We are not contractors. We are not builders. We are not designers. We are in no way affiliated with HGTV, Rock the Block, Landham Homes, or anybody else who does anything in an official capacity with this show. We are just two people who like to do remodels and talk about design.
And that's all the time we have. Thanks for listening. See you next week on Talk the Block.
Okay, well, this week's episode, Stephen, I was kind of thinking about what was the overriding theme for this episode.
Blah.
And I'm going to say...
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to say flexibility, right? In terms of like, are you losing flexibility or keeping flexibility in the spaces that you have?
Okay.
And even, are you flexible enough to turn upside down on a couple of silks that you hang from the ceiling?
Okay.
So this week they had to do 3 spaces that don't always seem like they go together.
Three great tastes that go great together.
Yes, we have an office, we have a laundry room, and we have an RV garage, which most teams chose to not use as an RV garage. But one team in particular did make sure to keep the flexibility to use it as a garage. So I think that's kind of where the trade-offs come in.
Yep.
So what did you think about the 3 spaces they had designed this week, Stephen, and how would you have approached a task like this?
Oh, good question. Yeah, we were looking at the hallway. I just started wondering why the door to the laundry was where it was. And then you've got a door across from it that goes outside. And it seems like, I don't know, it seems like there was an opportunity to move the entry door. There is a space across from the laundry, between the laundry and the foyer, that they're apparently not going to design. I don't know what it is. It looks like it's a bunch of closets and storage.
It's probably a powder room. We haven't seen a powder room yet in this house.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2.
Maybe a powder room
rooms.
And some sort of
a coat closet or something like that.
Know.
Yeah, another non-designed space. But it did kind of feel like maybe that would have been an opportunity to change the layout a little bit if you didn't like how things were going. I kind of like the idea of having the office stay an office. I think there was still some misses with getting rid of closets because I like to have a place to store my stuff, and having a closet's kind of nice. You can put shelving in there. It doesn't have to be stuff that you hang up, but it just provides a.
Yeah, even in an office, having a closet space isn't bad. Now, I get that this was a small space, right? Mm-hmm. But once you get rid of the closet, you can't list it as a bedroom anymore, and that does hurt the appraisal as far as I know.
Yeah, and like in your office, you have a rollable desk, and so when we convert your office to a bedroom, we roll the desk into the closet, and that's where it's stored. So it's not in the way anymore. And I think you lose some versatility by getting rid of the closet. I've started to sour on this Murphy bed idea. Everybody did it. We did see one last season, but the desk that they had in the middle of the floor was so heavy that it just didn't seem practical to try to move the desk. And so everybody seems to want to combine an office and a bedroom. And I like I said, I'm just kind of I'm kind of souring on that because of the whole logistical issue of converting it, and in a moment's notice, to a bedroom.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about my office, I think, which is a great example. So my office can double as a bedroom when we have extra guests. I
Right.
have a very nice pull-out couch. It's not one of the old ones with springs. It's American Standard. It's really comfy. And then I can
We're not
roll,
endorsed by American Standard either. Or Clopay.
and I can roll my desk into the closet, and so it becomes a nice, spacious setup for a bedroom, even though it still has bookshelves and what have you.
Right.
So it really is set up as a dual purpose without a Murphy bed or anything like that,
Right.
which no one did anything like that. And then if for some reason we needed to have that as a full-time bedroom, it would be a snap. We could take out some of the bookshelves and presto, bango, it's a bedroom again, right? So
Yeah, and I think that really for two of the teams just comes down to staging, because the room was still big enough that if you wanted to have it as a bedroom, was it two or just one? Maybe just one, because one team took the closet out, so that's obviously not going to be a bedroom anymore. But as far as the other way you can go is it's all just staging. You stage it as an office, but it can still function as a bedroom. You stage it as a bedroom, but it can still function as an office. But if you make it, as the case of one team, too small, then and take up too much room on the walls, then it kind of, if somebody really does want to make it into a bedroom, you're kind of stuck a little bit.
yeah. Whereas I think the mistake that Scott and Brooke made in the office area is they put in this very large bunk bed, which was a permanent fixture.
Right.
So if you wanted that to be used as an office, too
Right,
bad. Or
right,
even
yeah.
if you wanted it to be a guest room without a bunk bed, you'd have to take the bunk bed out.
Right.
So I really did not think that was a smart use of funds, was to build that bunk bed. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's value add because it's a permanent fixture, but you lose so much flexibility by putting that big bunk bed there.
Yeah, now now that we've been through the office space and they're all talking about how it counts as a bedroom, now my bedroom count is a little weird because they market this floor plan as 3-bedroom, 4-bath. And you've got the main suite, the office that they were talking about being a bedroom, you've got the multi-gen suite, which is a bedroom, and then you've got another room that is next to the main gen suite that looks like it should be a bedroom. So I'm not, again, I'm going to be looking for some clarity when we talk to the Landon Miller people about what they, if they're marketing it as a 3-bedroom house, what were they counting? I'm really curious about, getting some feedback from the builder with regards to this layout.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because it is a little bit weird knowing what's a bedroom and what's not.
Right.
Well, I mean, since we're talking about the offices, I think this week probably the best thing to do would be to talk about each space separately for each team rather than do each team one at a time because the spaces are so different. So
Okay.
let's just try compare each space,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. So we're going to take a super quick break and then let's just close out on offices and we'll move on to laundry room and RV garage. Does that sound good, Stephen?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so let's be a little bit more deliberate about how we're talking about the offices here. So I already alluded to the fact that Brooke and Scott decided to make their room purely a bedroom. They were going to put in a Murphy bed to make it more flexible, but because they spent a lot of money on a scoreboard for the RV garage, they didn't have the money for the Murphy bed. So instead of just staging it one way or the other, they put in these permanent bunk beds. Did not like that decision from a flexibility of the space point of view. Like if we were buying that home, we have no use for bunk beds, right?
Yeah, the thing I really don't get is, I guess it was that they spent Paige, Brooke, there you go again. Brooke spent $2,000 without telling Scott supposedly on this scoreboard. Well, this team has the most money left. After this week, with 2 weeks left, they've got $70K left. If they really wanted to do the Murphy bed, I mean, 2K is 2K all that's standing between you and making the right decision? I especially with a team that's got that much money left. It just, to me, it seemed like an odd way of introducing this bunk bed, and I think they did a total miss on recovering. They could have just staged it as a bedroom.
Yeah, and then I think the other problem they had is they had decided on a color scheme to make it staged as an office. So they had dark walls and kind of mature art and lighting and everything. And they got dinged by the judge. She said, hey, these are bunk beds. That seems like a kid's space, and it's very adult decor for a kid's space.
Right.
So when they pivoted to the bunk beds, I guess it was too late to pivot their overall design concept for the office. So it's kind of schizophrenic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, frankly, given that the upper bed, there's a kind of a steep ladder, and then there's no railings. It's not a bedroom for younger kids. It's at least going up to the top. So her argument about it being a room for kids may not quite fly.
Yeah,
anyway, so I don't know.
It was a little off. I think not their best effort.
No, they blew it. They trying to use an analogy that they use. They kicked themselves in the balls.
In the pickle balls.
That doesn't work. I don't know.
Anyway,
stuck in the mud.
Moving right along to another team that reduced the flexibility of the space is Kim and Chelsea, right? So they decided, since it was a small office, they wanted a bigger office. They took out the closet completely, added another 2 glass panels to the door to the courtyard, which I thought looked nice, right? It brought in more natural light into that room. Yeah. And overall, the bigger office, I think, worked, but from a resale, valuation of the home, losing a bedroom is a big deal.
Yeah. I think that was I don't know that the room not having the closet made it spacious enough to make up the fact that you no longer have a closet.
Yeah.
Another team didn't do that, and the office was just fine. I wonder, one of the things we couldn't tell was whether Kim and Chelsea had just put in 4 windows or whether they went sliders. Apparently they did not. I thought I remember them making a comment that they did not like the fact that the office looked out into the courtyard.
Well, they made it look out more.
Yeah, made it more light, but whether or not you could go in it. But if you think about it, I mean, if somebody's actually in office and they're seeing customers, somebody could come in and go through the sliding glass doors and get into the office without having to, traipse through the house, which they had to traipse through part of it to get there. I still don't understand this courtyard. And I don't think we're going to get resolution on the courtyard. But
yeah. And I mean, there are other things you could do without totally getting rid of the closet. So you could have potentially put shelving in that closet that was easily removable and staged it as sort of a bookshelf niche kind of place, and still kept the closet for that added value.
Yeah.
Or just made a smaller closet. It was quite a big closet for such a small bedroom, so you could have done that. But this way, they have reduced the appraisal value for their house, and it's not looking like they're going to go for the big win here. I'm not on the bandwagon for Kim and Chelsea at this point for the overall victory. No,
I have to rescind my preview projection that I thought we would get. Well, we'd be surprised. I am surprised, but not in a positive way about this team.
Okay.
I think the one thing that apologize, I'm still kind of suffering here today, but one thing that we did see in Kim and Chelsea's room was that they had painted the vent, and the vent, at least on TV, looked like the ceiling vent looked like it was a different color from the rest of the ceiling. We also saw what looked like there was probably speakers in there, so we're guessing that there might be a whole home speaker system also in this house. Just kind of, just noticing that. Not that it has any bearing on this particular week or not, but those the other comments I had on this team.
Okay, great. Well, moving right along to Taniya and Drew, they did some really lovely built-in shelving, and their walls looked good. The overall color scheme was good. But in my mind, there were two things that didn't quite work in their office. First of all, they had all this dark shelving and wall treatments on two of the walls, and then they just left the closet pure white. Right? So if they were going to do that, I would have liked them to see them do something to the closet so it fit more with the rest of the office. And then the judge, Leanne, was saying that she felt it was a little claustrophobic, and all
Right.
those shelvings, they took a small space and made it seem even smaller. So it looked cool, but was it super practical? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, and you're just kind of thinking through that. You know me, I like my big control station. I've got.
If he doesn't have three monitors,
I got
he
three
can't
monitors
work.
on my
Yeah.
desk, and then I've got three. You kind of come into my office area from one side, and there's surface spaces on the other three. So from that standpoint, they could have put the desk like next to one of the bookcases, and so the desk would kind of be a adjunct to it, be kind of like part of that, and that would have added a little bit more room to it. And so I think there they could have gotten away with it by doing a little bit of staging. But the fact of the matter is they did add a lot of bookcases and such that I thought looked good. But maybe it is small. It's still on TV. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we will give you a full appraisal of this when we do our in-person house tour in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, just a couple weeks now.
Yeah, I know. It's coming up quick.
It's going fast.
Okay. And so I do think that Mina and Vernon had the best office. What they did, I thought, was smart. They kept the whole room a light color, so the light wood on the closet, it fit in with the rest of the room. They had just a nice, simple arch behind the desk with a few bookshelves in it. So that added some interest and some built-in value without taking up too much space. And then they had a desk in the middle, so you could have easily used that as a bedroom, but it did look like a nice office the way they had it staged. And I liked their light fixture as well.
Yeah, I think the criticism from the judge here about not having any cabinets was valid. They could
You had
have
a
remedied
closet,
that.
though. You could have easily put cabinets in the closet.
Yeah, but
if
still
you
having
wanted
some
storage.
closed door
Yeah.
space. Instead of having a shelving all the way to the bottom, you could have had down at the bottom. You could have had some,
Okay. You could have had
some
a couple
doors, and then had the open shelving up higher.
easy add, but
yeah. I mean,
maybe so.
it's kind of nitpicking, but yeah, it looked really nice. I mean, it felt kind of that arch theme goes along with everything they did in the rest of that. No, wait, that was.
That's modern
Brooke and
hacienda. Yeah,
Scott.
everyone seems to be jumping on the arch bandwagon now.
Well, not
but,
everybody. I think it's Scott and Brooke had a lot of arches, and like now Mina, because Mina and Vernon had them in the multi-gen suite.
Yeah,
so now they're like doing
they're
this.
getting on the
but I think it's just the two
arch
teams. Their team. Those are the arch teams.
And they're kind of arch enemies. No,
Arch
just kidding. Who
enemies.
knows? Everyone seems to be Scott's arch enemy. Okay, so we think that was the best office. We had two offices that two people that clearly veered that space into one category or the other, and two that kept it so that it could be used as a bedroom or an office. So that's kind of where we stand on the tally for this third of the design challenge. And let's take a quick break before we move on to the laundry room. Okay, so talking laundry rooms. So Taniya and Drew decided to put in a pet spa into their laundry room. It feels like every year we get at least one pet spa in these houses.
At least it wasn't on the third floor.
Yes, back to our Treasure Island season where they put the dog spa on the third floor. Since this house only has one floor, it was on the first floor and in the laundry room.
They did put it up, what I would consider to be a little high. I mean, obviously, if you're washing an animal, which doesn't have to be a dog, Probably not a horse, but if you had pigs or goats, right? You could bring them in there. It could be your goat wash. I don't know how Vegas feels about goats in your yard, but yeah. So if you're washing an animal, it seemed like it's probably a decent height. If you were going to rinse off your shoes, like they said you could, otherwise, I think that would have been a little bit of a challenge, especially how short Taniya is.
Probably would have to take the shoes off.
Yeah, good thing she's flexible.
Yeah, there you go. But I thought that the pet spa looked cool. But, Stephen, you had a good point. I thought the lip on the edge of it was very, very short. I get that you don't want to have a big basin that you have to put your animal into, but that felt like it was rife for splashing all over the laundry room.
Yeah, I think just even spraying the animal when you're rinsing them off, and a lot of dogs, once they get water on them, like to shake.
Really?
I just really think that this is an opportunity for, you need a mop. You're going to need a mop. And I didn't see a drain in the middle of the laundry room either. But yeah, the lip looked a little low to me too. I mean, granted, you're not trying to fill up a bathtub and wash them, but still, there's going to be a certain amount of water, and you would prefer most of it to be contained inside that one little area. It is what it is. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of the dog wash.
Yeah, and I think because of the dog wash, they really didn't have a lot of counter space in that laundry room. So there was not a good place where you could fold your clothes.
No, no.
Or put your laundry basket or other non-designy things that people need to do in laundry rooms.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't kind of the judge seemed to like the doors in front of the washer and dryer, and I just really seriously,
why?
It's just something else to get in your way.
I don't understand why you need to hide your appliances in a laundry room.
From yourself.
I mean, the purpose of a laundry room is to do laundry, right? So now you've got to open that cabinet door and then open the laundry machine, and it just feels like, why the extra step?
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not a space that you're going to, be having people tour for. It's really a working space in the home. So I don't get why they hid those.
No, I don't either. And they did have a lot of cabinets and storage and stuff, which was good. But I think they still could have done that and had a little bit more space, counter space, in order to, for whatever it is you need to do with counters in your laundry room. I think that was, it kind of looked nice, but it was in a number of ways a miss for me.
Well, moving along to Scott and Brooke, I felt that their laundry room, it wasn't fancy, but I kind of felt like it was the laundry room I would most prefer. Well, first of all, I mean, they had a nice big sink in the counter. They had plenty of counter space. They even had like a sort of a little L-shaped cutout there that gave you extra counter space and laundry space. They had a front-loading washer and dryer, which I don't love. But they were raised up, so somebody like yourself who's kind of tall wouldn't have to sit on the floor to get the laundry in and out. Which was good.
They did have them on pedestals. I always thought I would like a front-loading washer until I have one, and I hate it. You try to put clothes in, the clothes falls out. Put clothes in, the clothes falls out. I just don't like it. I just don't like our washer and dryer. They take too long.
Well, Brooke wanted top load.
She wanted to, I know. She endeared me to her right there. I thought, top load. Next, we've got to redo our laundry room and get a new washer and dryer, and I am not getting a front load washer. We're not doing that. We're not getting, if we cannot get one of those water saving, electricity saving things, because it takes twice as long. Anyway, that's a different rant. Moving on. So so they were on pedestals. You could get into them. They looked fairly big. I thought that the wood was similar to the wood that they used in the kitchen. It kind of looked a little rustic. The judge didn't say anything about it, but I think to me it looked like it was the same sort of wood front or paneling or whatever.
Yeah. So I really did like theirs the best, even though it was the simplest. There wasn't a lot of, but a laundry room
It's a
doesn't need to
laundry
be
room.
fancy. It needs to be functional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving along to Kim and Chelsea, they did front load washer and dryer. They did do cabinets all the way to the ceiling, which I liked. But there were two problems. One problem in my mind and one problem in the judge's mind. I did not like that stainless steel industrial sink. It just looked out of place. A nice deep sink in the laundry room is great.
Oh, yeah.
But just build one into the counter. You don't need to have this thing sitting there with a granny skirt in front of it, which they were
just
so
just on
excited
one
about.
side.
Yeah.
Just on one side. On the other side, you still got to see all the hardware.
I did not get why that was so great. If any of our listeners think that industrial sink was a really cool thing that added value, let us know, because it wasn't working for us.
It just seems to me that every time Chelsea comes up with an idea, I know I'm going to hate it. It's just how I feel now.
She was the festoon queen. Yes.
Oh, I just maybe you have to go back and watch some of the other episodes to see. But this team is just making so many mistakes and doing so many things wrong. I don't know.
And the cabinets over the washer and dryer went all the way up to the ceiling, which, Stephen, I'm a big believer in cabinets to the ceiling. It's extra storage. You can always get a ladder.
Yep.
Yeah. However, the judge pointed out that the cabinets were too deep, and if you were trying to fold clothes, you would bump your head on the cabinet. I'm not sure I agree with that.
I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair statement. Yeah, our laundry room, the cabinets don't come out as far as the counter, and I'm being 6'2", I'm used to banging my heads on stuff all the time, and I think she's probably right that it would be in the way. I mean, banging your head, it'd be on the way. If you're trying to stand in front of there and you're kind of leaning over to bend, you can't lean over because the cabinets are right there.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, I think that was a fair criticism. As far as it being too deep to get stuff out of the back, that's not a big deal. But I think as far as limiting or reducing the space, your usability of the countertop because it's sticking out so far, I totally agree. Mm-hmm. We've got these, my workshop out in the garage, I've got the cabinets over it. And one thing I do, if I don't remember to shut the door, I bang my head against the daggone door all the time. Because it's right at that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's right at that level. I mean, again, the workspace comes out further than the cabinet, but I have to remember to close the door. I can't tell you how many times I've hit my head on those things.
Okay. So finally, we have Mina and Vernon, and I just don't understand what they were thinking. Mina, in some inexplicable drive for added appraisal value, thought that adding another closet into the laundry room would increase the appraisal value. So they have a closet inside of the laundry room, which in essence is a closet. And maybe that would be good if it were a broom closet or something like that, but it's a pretty big closet. And then they have like some sort of shelving or chest of drawers in the bottom of it. It didn't really seem to serve any practical purpose in my mind. So I'm not sure. And then it made the laundry room seem small because they had that closet there. So I don't really know what was going on there.
I don't know. I think that was just a bad decision. And tearing it out, well, probably not the most expensive thing in the world.
But not the cheapest thing you're going to do.
But not the cheapest either.
Like,
and just, it's just one of those things where somebody's going to walk in there and it probably something that will nag at them when they won't actually have noticed. Or they'll be like, boy, that laundry room's too small. What do we do? And they won't, I just think I don't see the positives. So I don't think it was a bad decision.
Yeah. I mean, they did have lots of cabinetry in there and lots of storage space. So I'm not sure what the closet was doing. So anyway,
I don't know.
I really think Scott and Brooke, nothing fancy, but the most functional laundry room in my book.
If it had a top load washer, it'd been perfect.
Yeah, Scott should have listened to Brooke, you know. Okay, well, let's take another super quick break, and we will come back and talk about what was formerly known as the RV garage. Okay, so the RV garage, as you would expect, is like 18 foot tall and really long, and they were tasked with designing this.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how small Taniya and Drew looked when they were discussing. They kind of had the far shot, and I'm like, boy, they look like Smurfs.
Although it did look like Vernon was finally in a space that fit him.
Yeah, I did notice when he came through the door, he wasn't ducking his head. So that's good.
Yeah. So the big question here, I think, for all of the teams is, do you keep this so that it can be used as an RV garage in the future, or do you totally transform it so that, it would be costly to retrofit it to use it as a garage?
Yeah, it must be temperature controlled.
It must be temperature controlled. One would hope, given what some of these teams did with it.
Yeah, it must be temperature controlled, which would be different than your normal garage. I don't know if the other two garages are also temperature controlled, but this one must be. And again, it's one of those things that if you think the buyer is going to want to have an RV garage, then you keep it, and if you think they're not, then you could repurpose the space, or you could, do stuff that kind of had to leave it as flexible. But it's such a large space, and RVs are so big, and I don't know how wide this was, and especially in relation to an RV, that putting stuff on the walls still allows you to park an RV in there or not. That sort of dimensions.
Some of those there was no way you could.
Yeah. Some of them, yeah, absolutely not. They just gave up on that. But I don't, Yeah, I don't know how much space you really could take up and still leave it as a viable space to park an RV. Now, if we're thinking like the ones they use on tours, those big ones, or is it an RV, like a fifth wheel or something?
I mean, that would take up most of that garage.
Right, yeah, like your sister had. That would take up most of it. Like the ones like my brother had wouldn't take up nearly as much. And then you've got the pop-ups too, but I don't know if you'd be putting a pop-up camper in an RV garage, but maybe you would. But if you were parking a boat, it wouldn't take up as much room. So
so there are multiple vehicle options, and each homeowner.
So some of them may allow for some, and some may allow for others, and some allowed for none. So I don't know what the right decision would have been there.
And we had different points of view here, clearly. I mean, Scott and Brooke seem to think that in this particular area in the Las Vegas suburbs, RV garages were highly valued. So they felt it was important to still be able to say that you had an RV garage because that would add value to the selling price. Other people made different decisions there, right? But let's start with Scott and Brooke. Why not? Because their design was clearly the most amenable to having this be used as an RV garage. They focused on the floor and did epoxy on the floor, which made it a finished floor, but you could still easily park an RV on top of that floor.
Yeah, we did an epoxy finish in our garage when we came in. It's not set up for a pickleball court, but but it's it's nice. It's easier to clean. It has a more cohesive look. So yeah, I think just doing that in general is one. Given that some of these teams seem to have their thoughts around this being a celebrity rental. I don't know what the percentage is of celebrities that travel and need an RV garage, and I don't know if you're going around go around Vegas and I have no idea.
Yeah, it really depends who you're marketing this to, right? But this one would easily. I mean, they did a nice job with the flooring. At first, the flooring was the wrong color; it was some bluish color. And Brooke was apoplectic about this, right? But she called and got them to come the next day. And I have to admit, she was right. When they redid the floor, the more neutral color, it looked a lot better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched a lot of pickleball tournaments, but I think a lot of times the flooring is blue.
But this is not just pickleball.
Well,
You
I
could
know,
do
but
volleyball, you could do basketball, you could do multiple
yeah,
different sports in
they
here.
had a basketball hoop in there. I'm assuming it's regulation height, and it looked like it may have been on something that you could push it back and kind of flatten it.
Yeah.
If you were trying to park something, it might, you definitely would want to get as much stuff out of the way so you have as little, that you have less to worry about when you're backing it in, pulling it in, whatever you're doing. They had the scoreboard, which I thought, was kind of an interesting piece to the puzzle.
And then they had
it did look like one of the lights was out.
Yeah, but okay, the scoreboard was cute. And then they had a screen that could go up or down if you wanted to use it as a movie space. And Leanne pointed that out. You should have some place to sit. But to me, that was just added flexibility, right? They had that screen there.
Yeah,
if you wanted to stage that as a movie room, you could have done it, right?
Yeah.
And then they had the back wall with, what did it say on the wall?
Balls to the wall?
Balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And then they had all those green pickleballs around there. It looked cute. I mean, if you're not a pickleball aficionado, maybe you don't like it. But I thought it was kind of clever, Well,
their spend in the RV garage wasn't that high because besides the chairs that was staging, the pickleball net was staging. There were just a couple of things that they actually spent money on.
Yeah.
They didn't really spend a lot of money here. And I think that's consistent. It's one way to go.
Yeah, it's one way to go. And it looks like next week they'll be making some big spends in the backyard. So they saved up for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on from Scott and Brooke, who had the most RV-friendly RV garage, I would say the second most RV-friendly RV garage was probably Taniya and Drew.
Yeah. I was worried you were going to go in a different direction. I didn't. And we probably would need to take a break before we talk about that team again. They... I don't know what it just seemed like. Oh, let's get a bunch of stuff and set it out here and see if it makes an impression on somebody. They got the sauna, which didn't really look like it was part of the garage. And, just wondering how much of this stuff is going to be there when we go. Because
I don't think
when
it will
be. When we went out to Utah, cold plunges were missing, hot tubs were missing. It's one of those things where it's really just staging,
exactly.
Even though it might look like it's a piece of a piece of equipment. It's just staging. It's not going with the house, and I guarantee you that sensory deprivation. Yeah.
Deprivation.
Yeah, one or the other.
No, you'd think those are part of the house, but the dirty little secret we learned in Utah is any of these health and wellness types of big things are really just giant staging. They're just borrowing them, and then they probably will be gone by the time we tour the house.
Yeah, and even though they took that the hot tub and they put it outside because that casita from last season, that was also not considered part of the house, and that was it could not be considered part of the appraisal for those of you that might not have been familiar with that piece from last season.
Yeah, and it will. Well, we'll get to this when we get to. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. When we get to Mina and Vernon, we'll talk about what can and can't be part of an appraisal. But in this particular case, going back again to Taniya and Drew, the one thing that could stay in the house are the silks hanging from the 18-foot ceiling.
Well, and they did put in the roll-up door in the back of it.
That looked nice. I like that.
So that was good. The silks, I guess you could.
I mean, the silks. It's a very specific choice. Like most people would not know what to do with that, or don't have the upper body strength and flexibility to do anything with it. Now,
Well, it looked like a pretty nice hammock when Drew was sitting
it
in
would
it.
be a nice hammock. I mean, I think maybe that's it, right? You open up that back door and you can hang out there on that hammock and, you just kind of like enjoy the breeze going through the RV garage.
Yeah, it kind of looked like there was some circular thing hanging from the ceiling, too, that I didn't really get a sense for what that was. Kept seeing it, couldn't figure out what it is.
Yeah, I do believe they were channeling Cirque du Soleil, another Vegas classic, right? So last week we kind of had the circus theme. This week we had the Cirque du Soleil theme with the silks and the hoop hanging from the ceiling. And like my niece actually knows how to do these aerials. And so like this would be the perfect house for her. She could go out there and practice her aerials all day long. There wasn't any mat or anything underneath it, though, which I thought if you were really going to use this to do aerials, I wouldn't want to be hanging over a concrete floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even, using it as a gym or anything like that, it's kind of nice to have some sort of, flooring there to take a little bit of the weight, so you're not just on
I think
concrete.
they actually did put flooring in
They
there.
did, but it looked like they put tiled flooring
Yeah, they
down.
had some sort of tile flooring that
But
it wasn't just concrete.
Yeah, but still, that's a hard flooring.
Yeah.
So, it's, again, if you're, especially if you're stretching, you're not generally going to be wanting to sit down on a rug. You're going to be on a mat, right? Which has a little bit of cushion. And then, a lot of times when you're doing weightlifting and stuff like that, there's a cushion that's under the whole
nobody
equipment so that
actually put a gym floor. Like you can get those sort of rubberized gym floors.
Right.
And if they were doing it as a gym, I would have expected somebody to do that. But we didn't see that at all.
No.
Yeah.
Even on part of it, and that wouldn't have reduced its functionality as being a place you could park your RV. Although if you had that kind of floor and you were parking heavy of an item on it, then you're kind of ruining your.
You're ruining it as a gym floor, but yeah. So anyway, all you would have to do to make theirs back into an RV garage was get rid of all the stuff that they lined up along the side, which probably will already be gone by the time we tour it.
Most likely.
And you could still have those silks and stuff and park an RV in there. So theirs was also pretty RV friendly, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, well, Stephen, let's take a short break and then we'll talk about the two designs that were decidedly not RV friendly. Okay, let's talk about Kim and Chelsea, who did a design that was not very RV friendly, and I'm not really
smoky
sure.
or sexy.
Not smoky or sexy. Okay, so they decided to do a wellness retreat sort of thing in their garage. Everybody felt that a gym would be
is that
too
a question?
simple.
It sounded like you were asking me a question.
Everybody,
I know the answer. I know.
Everybody thought of doing a gym, right? But then everybody thought, everybody else will do a gym. So as a result, nobody did a very good gym. Like all the gyms were sort of like, half thrown together and not really a gym that you would be happy to have in your house.
Most gym was staging. It was like, okay, here's an area that if somebody bought equipment, they could put the equipment in there. That the equipment is not part of the gym. They didn't really put a floor in, like we were just talking, that would be amenable to be in a gym. They just said, this area is a gym. Ta-da! Well, I mean, so they did put mirrors on the wall and stuff like that, so which is typical stuff.
Did Kim and Chelsea even have mirrors on their wall? I don't think they did. Oh, they did? I know. I guess they did have a mirror. Yeah. But anyway, they had at the front of the garage where the main original door for the RV would be, they had something that was sort of staged as a gym. That's about all we could say.
Yeah.
And then there were cut-ins to kind of make that a separate room to create a space. And then in the next third of the garage, they had this giant locker room with I don't know, probably a dozen lockers in that locker space.
Yeah. Well, and they were saying that some of it could house equipment for the gym, and that, to me, that makes sense. it's not really a changing room per se, but if you've got say you've got a bunch of the restriction bands or gloves that you might want to wear or not wear when you're in the gym. You may want to just have that someplace, in a cabinet, and so that's fine. We've got ours draped off of our equipment, which
but why? I mean, you could have shelving, you could have pull-out drawers or something. I don't know. Having it all
there
in
must have
separate
been a sale on
lockers.
cabinetry.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, they had all these lockers, right, for a space that was mainly accessible from the master bedroom.
Well, I mean, you could get through that entire space once you were in there. But there was conveniently an unlocked door to go into their unlocked, unshuttered, whatever door to go into their closet.
Yeah, so they could go directly. But I did kind of like the closet door going right into the gym. That was cool.
Yeah, but then if you've got guests and they're using that, they could mistakenly walk right into your closet.
Okay, and then the people who did not want 2 refrigerators or 2 of anything in their kitchen because they couldn't keep track of it, had a full smoothie bar with a refrigerator there, which you would also have to stock and keep going. So whatever. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth here.
And that's in your RV garage instead of being in the kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not such a bad idea to have a little bar there that's accessible from the the primary suite.
Well, they call it the main.
The main suite. The main suite.
I don't know.
You could put, smoothie stuff there and, maybe a little coffee machine or whatever if you're not as healthy.
They didn't have a fridge or an ice maker or anything like that, right?
They didn't? Then why would it be a smoothie bar?
I was just kind of asking a question. I don't remember there being.
I didn't look that closely, but if you're going to call it a smoothie bar, you kind of need to have stuff that you could make smoothies.
Right.
So
if you're going to call it a smoothie bar, I mean, unless it's, there was no water. No water, no ice. Maybe we go back and take a look.
We'll have to look at that again.
I think there's a lot of inconsistency going on with this team. I don't know.
And then there was another mini wall between where the locker room and the smoothie bar was, and then you had a big built-in sauna, actually, that looked pretty nice. And I don't think that was like an infrared move-in, move-out sauna. That looked like an actual sauna that would stay with the house.
Yeah, that one looked fairly permanent. Well,
and across from the sauna was a shower that looked very suspiciously like the shower they had put in the festoon room. It had the same, generic white tile and generic
and the stainless steel.
Yeah, so I think they must have just bought the materials for both of those and just kind of put it. Yeah, and I mean, okay, it's a shower that goes with your gym. It doesn't have to be especially pretty. But this, again, is something that, if they want to take out this sauna and take out this shower to put an RV in there, good luck. You're destroying a lot of value, and
the shower there with a clear door and potentially, you're not the only person using this area, right? So there's no dressing area. There's just a shower, right, with no thought put into it. And you're going to be sitting there taking a shower, and other people are going to be walking back. I mean, I didn't even think about that, but this is really a shower.
They've got lockers for 12, but it's really set up for one person. To be in the shower.
It's just, I don't know.
And then they've got like a whole platform built up around this cold plunge that you could get into, right? Yeah. So that in the back of the RV. There's the platform for the cold plunge, and they had some chairs and what have you, lounge chairs staged over there.
Right.
And then they did put a door on the back. They put a glass, roll-up door.
Yep.
And they also put windows on the side of the garage. So if you were sitting there relaxing, doing your cold plunge or whatever and hanging out, you had some natural light, which is nice because, I mean, this is a huge cavernous space. So If you're going to use the wellness, I'm in favor of windows and the glass garage door, going to the backyard.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about why that cedar surrounding stairs thing was as large as it was.
It was very large, yeah.
I guess you walk up there and you hang up your robe and you get out of the cold plunge and you walk over there and you grab your robe and then you walk. I don't know. It kind of looked like a seating area more than stairs.
It did look like a seating area. And it did. I hate to say it, but this whole gave me the feel that they didn't really know what to do with this garage.
So they did it all.
They decided to have a wellness retreat, and they just kind of spread it out. They're like, let's put in 12 lockers because that'll take up some of the square footage of this. And let's put in this giant cedar platform around this cold plunge because people will want to hang out in this cedar seating area in their RV garage. I don't know. It was just...
I don't know. This team has just some really weird. I don't know what reality they're living in. I guess that would be my thing. Is I'm not. I would not be. I know we did start watching Kim's "Why the Heck Did I Buy This House" show because it's not so bad, but she definitely makes better decisions than this on that show.
Well, I just think they don't have a clear vision for who's going to live in this house because if you recall in the kitchen, they had the giant seating area, giant banquette that would seat like 12 to 16 people.
12 to 15 people you're going to feed with a mini fridge.
And meanwhile, they keep getting rid of bedrooms. So they got rid of the office bedroom.
Yeah.
They pretty much got rid of the multi-generational suite bedroom and made that a movie room. So I don't know where all these people are living that are going to hang out around this
neighbors and friends. They're going to have neighbors and friends coming over. I don't know. That's and I think the key, and if we want to believe that this is, kind of script out how they're going to react and respond, and I guess they kind of. It seemed like they wanted Chelsea to take more of the lead maybe in this space. And so, Kim was like, I don't know what to do. And Chelsea's like, I do. Mm-hmm. Well, that should be words that scare you from now on.
Well, and the other thing is they kept the floors just the concrete garage floors.
Yeah,
so they've got all these high-end features that's making it this wellness retreat. But you're walking on a cold concrete floor, right? Not a polished, nice concrete floor like some people have in their house, just like a garage, plain old concrete floor. And that, for what they did with the space.
For wellness, because walking on concrete makes you feel better.
I don't know. So anyway, it's, I didn't think it was all that awesome as a wellness retreat. It just seemed like, a lot of decisions they didn't all stack up like it was a space that went together.
I think it potentially, I'm gonna try to give them a little credit here. Potentially, if they were actually doing this instead of having to stage it or working within a budget, or if they actually had a garage someplace and they were doing design, that they would. I want to say that I think that they would come up with a more cohesive design, but I think somehow the fact that they're doing this on this show has kind of made them do things in such a herky-jerky type of way, and that's why they're coming up with this stuff.
Yeah,
I want to try to give them credit for potentially having a good idea, but just not being able to execute in something that.
No, and they've done some beautiful spaces, but I think you're right. There's sort of a lack of cohesion in terms of who is this for, who's living here, how are they using it? Right?
Yeah, we've seen that with other teams. You've kind of the situation that they get thrown in this particular show is something that they would never willingly ascribe to do in their private life. They might be forced into an remodel because the roof caves in and they've got to do something, but in general, just how you go about doing all of this type of thing, this amount of space and this amount of time, and having to plan it out, 6 months in advance or however long they do it. It's a unique situation that a lot of times people can't adapt to. Like Keith and Evan, they did a lot of really good stuff, but their show was making the most out of no money. And I think that part of their process was they just were never able to get past the hump of having a huge space and having money that you could actually spend on it. And they that just became a roadblock for them in their designing. And even though they were on the show twice, they just, they got better, but they just never kind of got past it, right? And they were on the show twice. So I think a lot of times when you're on the show the first time, you think that you've got a plan, and then you try to execute the plan, and then you have to kind of live with how the plan is working out. And maybe you wouldn't have done it that way.
Okay, well, let's talk about somebody else who is on the show for the second time. Mina is Little Miss Check the Box. If there's anything that she can add that's going to go into the appraisal, she will do it.
And that's it.
Her design is all about how can I shove as much added value into this house as I possibly can. And it's been pretty clear from the very first space that that's where she's going. Which, hey, if you want to win the competition, is not a terrible strategy. But I'm a little bit concerned because now she's developed this space with 2 income properties. There's basically 2 potential ADUs that she's got set up here in the multi-generational suite and now the RV garage. And I just wonder if the space is zoned for that. Because if you remember last year, that casita could not be used as an ADU because it was already zoned for an ADU in the basement, right?
Yep.
And the local government would not allow 2 ADUs on that property.
Right. So it could not be considered in the final appraisal.
Yeah.
Now,
so you have to wonder what the zoning is here, right?
There was a kind of a quick flyby last week where they got credit for having gotten a certificate to do what they did in the multi-gen suite.
Okay.
So somehow they were able to get authorization for that.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know how this flies, but another good question for Landon Miller, because they would have to have been involved in all of that too. So I thought I heard something about it, and it kind of pricked my ears because we saw last season that.
It was only zoned for 1 ADU. Yeah. So now they've got 2. So clearly this house is being designed as an income property, right? You have 3 separate spaces that are all keyed and could be rented out separately. And I just don't know who would buy this that was not using it as an income property, because now this house has, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 full kitchens. There is the main kitchen. There is the back kitchen, which is also a full kitchen. There is a full kitchen in the multi-generational suite, and now there is a full kitchen in the RV garage. So most families don't need 4 kitchens in their home unless they have, unless they're not using all 4 of them.
Well, and from a privacy standpoint, again, it seemed like there was no real restriction on moving from the gym to the studio in the RV garage. Now, maybe there is. Maybe there's a lock.
Potentially there's a deadbolt on one side or something like that.
But again, I would expect to see that too, because if they have that little gym area and it's a gym area, you would think that anybody else staying at that house would have access to it. And if there wasn't some sort of limiting factor in getting to the studio, they could just be walking in. And to your point, that they did put in a door in the back of it that allows it for its own entrance. They didn't really highlight that. And I'm assuming you're right. It's got a key, probably a keyed entry and all that stuff too. Yeah.
So, I mean, either this house is going to be used as an income property, or it's a home where you truly do have multi-generational living. I mean, I could see having a parent living in probably the multi-gen suite space, and maybe an adult child living in the RV garage as an apartment.
You could have two children, two adult
children
that, and they have their own spaces, but they're still connected. right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not really teen spaces, either one of them,
No.
because they do have the full kitchen and everything. So
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't want your teenager in there unless, maybe college age, sure. But so if you had 3 sets of adults that each needed their own living space,
Right.
This house would work for you.
yeah.
But if you didn't, it's kind of like, hey, why would this space be for you?
Right. Right.
So that's just talking about what they did. What they did was really hard to reverse.
Yes.
They built a full wall. They took the front part of the RV garage, turned it into a separate room with some rather lackluster staging as a gym, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then they had a hidden door behind the gym mirror that went into the studio apartment. And there they had a sitting area, a full kitchen that was just against one wall. There wasn't a ton of storage and counter space. But, this is a studio apartment,
With a microwave vent.
rental or something. There was a microwave vent.
Yeah.
And then
Check.
in the very back, they had a closet behind the kitchen and a bathroom with a shower, sink, and toilet. So check.
Well, 2 sinks. That's the thing I couldn't figure out is why there was
little
2
small
sinks back
studio,
there,
and there's 2 sinks
there's
in the
no
bathroom.
real counter space back there because there's 2 sinks, and you really think 2 people? I mean, really? I mean, 2 people could go in there, but 2 people could use. I mean, if you're both living there, you could use 1 sink, and you don't need 2 sinks, which I think that was just a waste to have 2 sinks. It did look symmetrical with the mirror, but no, and I'm not exactly sure how big that closet was either. I don't think that really looked like a 2-person closet. I'm not even exactly sure it would really be a 1-person closet. So if you had,
I could see one person living in this.
well, we don't know how big it is.
Yeah.
We don't know how big the closet is.
But I could see this is it seems like a 1-person studio.
Yeah,
what I'm
right.
saying,
Yeah, 1-person studio. But 1 person, if they're living there, say they're a young adult, they're still going to have a certain amount of clothes that I don't know. It did not look like that closet would be very big. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see when we go.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And then they had a lofted bedroom. So they built a loft over the bathroom and the closet.
Yeah.
And they had a clear guardrail, I guess. Or what would you call that? On the loft, which was kind of
Glass
nice.
railing.
It would make it feel less claustrophobic if you were up there. But then they had a ladder that you had to climb to get up there, which... Okay, if you're young and spry, that's good. But, you had a good point, Stephen. If you want to bring anything up with you to that space, you want to change the sheets on the bed or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, right.
You're going to have to carry them up the ladder, which is not optimal. So I think if you were really going to use this as a studio space, you probably would. This was one good idea that the judge had, was putting in a spiral staircase, which I think would have been a better
would have taken
solution.
up a little bit of floor plan.
A little bit more, but not a lot.
Yeah, and I had one house when I lived in Manhattan Beach had a circular staircase from the first floor to the second, and it was a little small getting up it, but it was fairly easy to navigate. I think the floor plan. I think what I just thought of something though. But where are they going to do laundry?
I don't know. They'll have to either go
laundry.
into the main
and
house.
Then the other thing I thought was really weird with TV, in the sitting area, the TV was behind the couch. And then it looked like there was some sort of whiteboard across the room from where the couch was, where there was some sort
I
of
think that was a staging mishap. I mean, I don't know. They probably were supposed to put the TV on the other wall.
Supposed to be switched the other way. But I mean, that's how it looked. I mean,
but the loft apparently was roomy. I mean, Vernon could stand up in the loft without any problem. So it was not the sort of thing where you're shoved in there, and if you sit up, you bump your head on the ceiling.
Right.
So it truly was a lofted room. I just wonder about the ladder access,
Yeah, and it looked pretty steep. Was it who was the judge? At least it looked like she got up there. Luann de Lesseps Looked like she got up and down it just fine.
I keep calling her Leanne, but I think you're right. It's Luann.
I got it right there. Luann, yeah. Who, okay, so it's not on Love It or List It.
Yeah, we're sorry about that. We messed up last week.
When I was doing research on this, I'm looking up her background, and I'm like, well, where's Love It or List It? So I had to go look up Love It and List It. Like, oh.
It's not
she
her.
was not on Love It or List It.
She was from Real Housewives of New York.
Yeah, which totally qualifies her to come in. And
I guess she's done design. I don't know. It seems like she's more of a singer celebrity.
Right. So she's a celebrity
designer.
for being famous. Which is so many people are these days. And I, got some feedback. Some people didn't like her. You didn't like her. I thought the comments when she was through the house was okay, but it did feel like at the end when she was relating to the teams, she just wanted to focus on positives and kind of give the feedback that way. Which wouldn't be helpful, but maybe that was an editing thing too.
We're being much more critical than she was. She was like, "Oh, I love the spa. I love that." Yeah,
it just in the preview for next week, the guy was more critical than she was. I mean, it's just that one little blurb, but like, "Oh, this should have been done differently." That was more critical.
Not that you want the judges to be really mean, but
feedback. You want feedback.
You want a mixed positive and negative.
I mean, it's part of its learning. Maybe they knew they should have done something differently. Maybe they didn't know they could have done something differently, hearing a different opinion. I mean, just because they tell you something doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. But, for the future, maybe that feedback is meaningful for something else. So, I think giving them a mix, because everything wasn't perfect and it wasn't, roses and sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and Mina really did seem to be taking the feedback she'd been getting seriously. She's like, we've been getting dinged for creativity. So they put a little bit more thought into the office. And then she's like, we got dinged for our closet for storage, which was a correct ding.
Yeah.
And so they put more thought into the storage in their laundry room. So, at least in that case, the feedback they've gotten from the judges has helped them improve.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least she, whether it changed what they did or not, I don't know, but at least she brought it up that she had heard it. So
at the end of the day, Stephen, what do you think? Did the right team win?
From an added value, it's hard to argue. Did they do what I would like to have seen them do? I don't know that I really could say any team did. I think, Mina obviously had a plan.
Uh-huh.
And she, they called it their Super Bowl. This is what they've been planning for the whole time.
They've been saving money for
this. They executed it. What they executed was what they planned to do. But I don't. From an added value standpoint, they spent $60,000. Nobody else did.
Yeah, well, it was a decent studio apartment in a garage,
do what I would want?
Yeah.
I mean, probably more along the line of Drew and Taniya, but, then again, I don't know. I think Brooke and Scott and Brooke, Scott, and Paige, they from the RV. And we're just that's just off the RV garage. Looking at the total package, office and laundry is. I guess at this point, I forgot we did 3 different spaces. Well, Mina and Vernon missed in the laundry, but from an added value, you have to say that they really added value in the RV garage. If I was the judge, I guess since you've got to take that into consideration, it's hard to ignore.
And I think they did also have, they had the best office too. So, they added the most value in the garage. Yeah. Their office was the best and the most flexible space.
The laundry room was a miss.
Laundry room wasn't bad except for that closet that we can't figure out. But overall, I have to say you would give them the win, but I'm just a little bit concerned. They are building an income property.
Yeah, next week, they add a second story that's a condos. Putting condos on the top of
this is
house.
No longer going to be a house. It's quickly turning into condos.
Yeah.
Well, next week we're going to do the backyard. It does look like one team is bringing in a pool, as we predicted several weeks ago. So I think that'll be a good value add. And I'm always excited. I love to see what they do with the outdoor space. Last year, we certainly had our hits and misses with that. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I guess again, I don't really know what the Thai visits are supposed to do this season. This time, Thai decided to visit Brooke with Scott as a guest.
And talk about her
I guess
trauma.
I guess Ty doesn't care how Scott's doing. So I thought he was part of the team. When he talked to Mina and Vernon, he talked to both of them. I guess Brooke just had so much, and part of this is editing too. I mean, you got to edit it down to a certain point, but I still don't really get the gist of the Thai visits to the teams. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Anyway, we did learn a little bit more about Brooke's trauma and how she's working through it.
I don't know. I don't think I've learned anything
hard
new.
Work and humor.
I keep hearing the same thing over and over again. It's a good thing she says she's beyond it.
Yeah, well, that's good.
She's gotten past it. You can really tell. So next week, the background spaces, the outside, the backyard. Because the backyard is next week, and then the last week is exteriors and curb appeal. So they'll be up in the front yard the following week. So yeah, backyards.
All right, that sounds good.
And the judge is some Super Bowl guy I've never heard of.
Yeah, they're really doing the cross promotion this year with the judges. So it's pretty interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, thank you very much for listening. Great to have you as always. And we will be back to talk with you again next week for the next episode of Talk the Block.